Tone deaf, when privilege blinds us. I was out on the trail the other day, thinking about some conversations I had recently, a few chats with other straight white men, and the consistent theme that came up was financial anxiety. The slowing economy, potential layoffs, the rising cost of everything, these were their primary concerns. And honestly, their worries are valid. Everybody's individual struggles are valid. This capitalist system we live in can be brutal for everyone. The precarity of work, the fear of debt, the struggle to make ends meet, these are real anxieties that affect a lot of people, myself included. But as I listened, something sat with me that kind of frustrated me. It wasn't that their concerns weren't legitimate. It was the feeling that the conversation existed in a vacuum, almost as if the financial strain was the only strain, the only hurdle we were all facing in the same way. It felt a little tone deaf to the realities I know many others experience in the same system. And it made me wonder, when your biggest worry is financial, can you truly hear the other struggles echoing around you? I hope people can really think hard about that. For those that can't tell, I'm a straight white man. And for many who aren't straight white men, navigating the American capitalist system isn't just about finance or money. Their identity itself adds layers of complexity, barriers, and costs that someone in more privileged position right now might not even see. Take, for example, the racial wealth gap. It's not just a statistic, it's the tangible outcome of generations of discriminatory policies. Redlining made home ownership a key way to build wealth, inaccessible to many black families. Unequal access to education and jobs has created persistent income disparities. So when a person with a different skin color than I have worries about their financial future, they're often grappling with the legacy of a system that was actively designed to exclude them from economic opportunity. Or consider the gender pay gap. Women on average still earn less than men for the same work. This isn't just about individual negotiation skills. It's about systematic biases and a devaluation of traditionally female labor. For a woman worrying about her finances, she might also be navigating the reality of earning less simply because of her gender. And for members of the LGBTQ plus community, financial anxiety can be compounded by the potential for discrimination in hiring, housing, and even healthcare. The fight for basic rights and acceptance can carry a significant emotional and sometimes financial toll. The point isn't to diminish anyone's financial worries or individual struggles. We're all feeling the pinch in different ways. But it's about recognizing that for some, the struggle isn't just about the size of their paycheck or the number in their bank account. It's about navigating a world where their very identity can be a barrier to economic security and advancement. Remember our conversation about invisible money and the stock market? Well, in a way, privilege is a kind of invisible power. It's the absence of certain obstacles, the assumption of belonging, the ability to move through the world without facing the constant headwinds of bias and discrimination. And when you occupy a position where that invisible power smooths your path in certain ways, it can be easy to assume that everyone else's journey is just a steeper version of your own. And this isn't about blame, it's about perspective. It's about recognizing that when the dominant narrative of struggle revolves solely around financial metrics, it can inadvertently silence the voices and experiences of those whose challenges are multifaceted and deeply intertwined within their identity. And if you want to find the breadcrumbs for how this all came to be, you don't have to go back to the beginning of time. You just have to go back a few generations to a moment in American history that's often called the Golden Age. We talk about the GI Bill after World War II as the great equalizer, this incredible tool that built the American middle class. And for many people it was. But when you follow the breadcrumbs of policy and culture, you see that its promise was not extended to everyone. Things like the Federal Housing Administration or the FHA which was supposed to guarantee home loans to returning soldiers. While in practice, those loans were overwhelmingly given to white veterans, building wealth for their families as they moved to the suburbs and their property values rose. At the same exact time, that same government was redlining urban neighborhoods, drawing lines on a map and denying those same loans to black veterans and their families. So while one group was given the key to the kingdom to build generational wealth, another was systematically barred from the same opportunity. And the wealth gap we see today isn't an accident, it's a direct outcome of these policies. It's easy to look at today's world and say, I got where I am through hard work. And that's true. But what we often miss is that the trail for some of us was already paved, while for others, the path was actively booby trapped. The American system wasn't built to be a pure meritocracy. It was built on a foundation that gave an immense, often invisible head start to people who looked exactly like me. And that's the real power of the invisible privilege. It's the quiet assumption that the rules are fair for everyone, when the historical evidence shows that they were created for a very specific type of person. The real challenge, then, isn't just to solve our own financial anxieties. Maybe it's also about turning our ears to the quieter, often unspoken struggles of those around us. Maybe it's about understanding that the sound of silence from someone else doesn't mean they aren't struggling. It might just mean their struggle speaks a different language, one we need to actively learn to hear. And sometimes I think about the way freedom gets twisted in the straight, white men culture I grew up in. The whole boys will be boys thing, or the kind of comedy and podcast culture that says, real men don't apologize, real men don't back down, real men don't care what anybody thinks. At first, it sounds like freedom. Say what you want, do what you want, no apologies. But if I'm being honest, it feels more like a cage. Because if you're a man, especially a white straight man like me, you're told there's only one trail you're allowed to ride. You can't show weakness, you can't admit doubt, you can't step off the path without somebody telling you you're not a man enough. That doesn't look like freedom to me. It looks like another way of keeping people in line, just dressed up as toughness. Real freedom, the kind I want to believe in, would mean being able to take the whole trail, the open field, wherever it leads. Not just the narrow track somebody else laid out and called manhood. So as a straight white man to other straight white men, maybe we need to shut up more. Maybe we need to listen more. And maybe we need to accept that we have a head start over others. Just something to think about out here on the trail.